executive team at LinkedIn. So guess what happened next? I get a phone call. Guess who's calling me? My boss. I know you're interviewing at LinkedIn. I go, oh shit, I'm screwed. And if I don't get this job, I'm so dead, right? I got the job. Woo! But this was my introduction to the reality that was the revolutionizing the job space and the social networking space just 4 years ago. And it was a message to me as a human resource professional who I thought I was very current. I thought I was up on the latest trends. It was a message to me that I need to raise my game, that I need to get stronger and be sharper about what's in front of me. So let me ask you guys a question before we get started here. What's the biggest value creator in any organization? What's the single largest driver of value creation? People, that's right. Talent. This is it. If you look at the operating expense of every organization in the entire world, consider it a big pie chart, okay? How much of that is spent on people, on payroll, do you think? Think about your own organizations, right? It's almost 90%. But yet most companies spend a very small amount hiring, developing, growing that talent. It's curious to me. Why is that? That the biggest expense of a company is one they invest so little in. And this is why LinkedIn, I think, had an advantage right from the start. But before I get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself so maybe I can give you a little bit of credibility. And over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, I want to talk a little bit about the history of recruiting, where we are today, and then where I think it's going. Because some of you who I've already talked to before this session are already starting to see the future happen right now. Because it's really exciting. It's exciting because I think it puts all of us, our profession, in a more impactful place than we've ever been before. If talent is the biggest driver of value creation, then our role should be more critical than they've ever been because we have more information about where the talent is in the world. Okay? So let's start with the history. All right? Who remembers the most important thing as a recruiter about 25 years ago? Before internet, before cell phones, you remember what the most important thing was? Steal the phone book of the company you want to hire from. Because if you have the phone book, and hopefully they put the titles in the phone book, then you know what the org chart is, right? How many of you did reverse engineered an org chart from a phone book, right? This was it. This was the goal. You get the phone book, okay, now I'm off to it, right? That was only a quarter of a century ago that we were using these tools. And now we've got so much more. But let me tell you a little bit my career. I began in 1986 as a recruiter in the fashion industry. And I'll admit it was a very selfish, motivated decision in 1986. I was working for a fashion company. I was ready to go to business school because my first job there was doing credit and collections, and I was very bored doing this. There's no finance people here, right? Because I like to punch finance people all the time. By the way, when I was at Cisco and we would have HR department meetings, we would have about 200 or 300 people. We would make sure finance wouldn't be invited because they said, what are all these HR people doing? We have too many, so we would never invite the finance people to the meetings, right? But I began as a recruiter because as I was applying to business school, they said, well, why don't you stay? You know the company really well. Do you remember Esprit? Esprit, they filed bankruptcy about 10 years ago in the US. I think they're still alive internationally, but I was young, I was single, I just moved to San Francisco from outside of New York City. I thought, wow, this is great. And I get to interview young women who want to go work in the fashion industry. Yes, this is heaven. I thought it was my dream job, really. But since then, I've had a chance to recruit all over the world. I lived in Singapore for 2 years. I lived in Canada for 4 years. I actually grew up in South Africa for about 5 years as a kid. And so I've had a chance to try different things and learn different things around the world. I haven't spent as much time living in Europe, but when I was with Cisco, we were buying companies everywhere, and I was based in a number of different cities, especially Milano, where we bought a division of Pirelli Tire one time. But I want to be honest with you right from the start. Even though I've traveled the world and worked in about 5 different industries, my lens is really the lens of Silicon Valley. And I appreciate the reality of the economy in Spain right now, and the reality of what you're dealing with is very different. But I do think there are some things that you can take away from today that are trends that we're seeing in the Valley and some of the challenges that we faced that I think are going to unlock some secrets for you possibly to be more effective in your roles. But I've been doing this a long time. And what I love about our profession is the same thing I love about sports. I'm a big sports fan. I played sports my whole life. I still play sports. I'm dealing with a sports injury right now, so I'm hobbling around Plaza Mayor last night. I think someone thought I drunk too much, but I was like, I can't walk. It's not the beer. But what I love about sports is finding the right team to win a game. It's the same thing in recruiting and in human resources. Finding that right team, and when they win, it's so gratifying. There's no greater art to me than the art of putting people in the right team and getting the right performance. And that's why I respect a lot of what you all are doing, because I think it's the most exciting thing you could ever want to do. And I got lucky. I just stumbled onto it by accident because I thought I could find my wife recruiting. So, hey, it's interesting. But let me tell you now a little bit about the LinkedIn adventure that I had. When I joined in 2009, we had 400 people. The company was about 6 years old. The birthday of the company is Cinco de Mayo, which in California is very big. Margaritas and chips and salsa, celebrating a big day for Mexico. But that year, the leadership team, it was beginning of 2009. And in 2008, you remember what happened? Your whole savings, like where did my money go? Oh, all the accounts went down. The banks really, really struggled, right? And so I was joining a company, and my parents said, what do you want to go to a company helping people find jobs? There's no jobs. So you never want to disappoint your parents. So I said, Mom, it's okay. I got it under control. I think this is a good one. That year we forecast we were going to hire about 150 people. We wound up hiring 600. And this is the amazing thing that LinkedIn provides. And whether you're inside the company or whether you're a user, you have an incredible graph of what's happening in the world. In 2008, when the banks started collapsing, guess what happened on LinkedIn? More people updated their profiles than at any point in the history of the site. Job insecurity. Well, so then we started to think, wow, what can we do to forecast economic challenges in different parts of the world? And then we started to say, what if we could have every job opening mapped with everyone who doesn't have a job in the world? Imagine the value to a country. Imagine the value if a country says, I know what skills I need, I know where the skills are in my country or elsewhere, and now I can map that. And that is the vision, the long-term vision, is to map talent with opportunity at a massive scale, like no company's ever done before. And what started to happen as more members started to join in 2009, companies started to want to recruit more, and they didn't want to pay the big fees of a big recruiting team, or they didn't want to pay the big agency fees, so they said, let's try this. And that started to really disrupt things. And many of you are familiar with that. How many of you actually have a LinkedIn recruiter license that you use? Because I'm going to refer to it sometimes. Okay, a few people. Some of you don't. 50% of the business of LinkedIn is selling search licenses to search the whole database. That's how they make money. Right now, they just finished their Q1 earnings. It's about a $600 million business, growing to $1 billion. Just the recruiting piece. LinkedIn as a whole is about a $1.3 billion, and the stock is still going crazy. Thankfully, I still own some stock, but it's going crazy. But this is the interesting thing. What the search is, it's about a $6,000 or $10,000 license, depending on the valuation of your currency in your country, and you search and find people there. It's very powerful, but it's very simple at the same time. So anyway, that's sort of my disclaimer before we get into some of this. Now I want to share with you my frustration and my challenges, so we can all complain together and maybe have a drink after this, okay? When I was hiring those 600 people in the first year in 2009, do you know who my next door neighbor was? There's a company you may have heard of in Mountain View, California, Google. Have you heard of Google? Yeah. So my building is here. There's a Google building here, 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 and here. And guess what? It's worse than that. I knew they're hiring 6,000 people because guess who's selling them product to hire? Me. I'm arming my competitor to compete against me for the best talent in the world. And it's even worse than that. Google is known of paying whatever it takes to hire the best talent. So back in 2009, I was not making hardly any profit. No one had ever heard of my company, and I'm surrounded by the sexiest brand, one of the most prolifically successful companies on the planet. And it gets worse than that. Up the freeway a few miles, another company you may have heard of, going really, really well. This blue color is the color of their company too. Facebook? Yeah, they're hiring like crazy. Summer interns last year. Do you know how many summer interns they had? Students. 500 summer interns. How they got any work done with 500 students, I have no idea. Then, if I go a little bit further north in San Francisco, there's another company you guys might have heard of. Another sexy company doing really well. Twitter? You guys ever, is Twitter hit down here? Yeah? Yeah. Crazy. And so I have no name recognition. I don't have the money to pay what these companies do. I have no brand. How am I going to succeed? And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about, finish the story first, and then we'll come back to how we got there. How we decided to win was on culture. We decided to say the experience of working in our company will be better than any experience you have anywhere else. You will grow, learn, develop, make a difference in the community, and contribute unlike anywhere you could work. And I can't pay you more than Google, but I will give you an opportunity to make a difference. Meanwhile, during this incredible war for talent, 2 other companies came really hot, and then they got really cold. Did Zynga take off here? Farmville and all these games? Yeah? So they took off really hot, and then came down. But it was easy for me to compete. Anyone here from Zynga? No? I don't want to offend anybody. Okay. Actually, I like offending people sometimes. But Zynga, I said, if I'm recruiting you from Zynga, I would say, oh, you got an opportunity at Zynga? That's great. And by the way, I don't know if it's the case here for engineering talent, but I've never come across an engineer in 4 years at LinkedIn who only is talking to me. They're all talking to 2, 3, 4 other companies. And many times they come to you and say, here's my spreadsheet. This is my Google offer. This is my Twitter offer. This is my Groupon offer. What are you going to do? And for me, it was easy. We're not talking about money. We're talking about making a difference in the world. Is that important to you? Do you want to make games that keep your kids from doing their homework, or do you want to change lives? Your choice. What do you want to do? You want to be Google engineer number 2,000, or do you want to be engineer number 50 for me? What do you want to do? Do you want to lay the foundation, or do you want to just polish it over at Facebook? Just make it a little nicer. We're building something special. For every one of my competitors, I had to be really on my game. And we'd always make sure, if we had someone who had an offer from Facebook or Twitter, we would have the person we just hired from Facebook, Twitter, interview them. Right? It's a very simple tactic that many of you, I'm sure, use that, right? That's what we had to use. But I was competing against these guys, and it wasn't easy, and it wasn't fun, but we started to win as we started to sell the value of the culture. And how we did that was not through a marketing campaign. We did it through all of our employees. And I'll tell you a little bit about that as we get going. As I talked to you a little bit earlier, I know you all appreciate this, but we don't talk about it enough with our management, that recruiting and talent is so important. It's the #1 expense in any organization. I'd be curious for all of you to do the math. Go find out, how much are you spending on your recruiting budget in relation and proportion of the overall? How much of your talent development budget is of your overall operating expense? Even at LinkedIn, I will tell you a secret, even at LinkedIn, I had to fight for more recruiting budget. I said, what? I'm at LinkedIn. And the management, the CEO and the CFO said, yeah, but we don't have a lot of requisitions open. We're not hiring a lot of people now. I go, yeah, you told me we're only going to hire 200. We hire 600. I said, we always have to play ahead of the game. And that's the trick in the Valley. You don't know what's around the next corner, but you have to try to expect and anticipate the growth and the success. And we got lucky that we had a business model that started working. But what's really important is that you believe this is the most important thing. And at LinkedIn, one of the keys to our success was that we told everyone in the company, hiring and developing people is the most important thing. And to this day, I know all the priorities. Build a world-class team, make great products members love, build scalable world-class operating system, and lastly, make money. It's a growth order of priority. And so every one of you, I'm sure, either work now or work for a company that said, oh, talent's #1, hiring people are our most important asset. Because I worked a lot of 6, 7 companies, it's always the same. But at LinkedIn, it was different. If you had a job open, you had to spend 2 days only recruiting. If you had a key job open, that's all you did if you were a manager, for 2 days a week. 30% of your time had to be just sourcing, interviewing, networking, interviewing and closing candidates. And everyone was involved. The chairman of our board would come. Our founders would come to close candidates. It was so important to us. This is a battle. And you have to sell some vision that's really, really great. But we made it a priority before everything else. and we backed it up by action. You as a leader were measured in your bonus and your rewards by how much you contributed to building a great team, okay? Super powerful. We put action behind this, and I'd never worked someplace like that before. The words were always there, but I never saw the action like this, and it really helped us. Okay, so before I put the presentation together to come visit you, I talked to a bunch of your peers in the Bay Area in California. I said, what's on top of your mind, okay? And I was traveling around recently in Utah and other parts, and I said, what is the most important thing you're thinking about as a talent expert in the world of recruiting? The number one thing everyone said is utilizing social networks. Are we using the right ones? How do we use them? How much should we use them? And you know what? The biggest challenge I got, I would go visit the heads of recruiting at some of the biggest companies in the world, Novartis, Walmart. I would go in there, and you know what the head of recruiting would tell me? They would say, oh, I love your product, but I need your help to convince my management not to be afraid of social media, not to be afraid of LinkedIn. Because sometimes the CEOs, have you had this problem in your companies before? Some companies forbid LinkedIn from even being open. They block Facebook, they block Twitter, they block LinkedIn. It's unbelievable. Even in some of the technology companies in Silicon Valley, it's blocked because there's a fear. And so I said, okay, let's attack that fear. How do you deal with fear of social networks, of the people who are writing the checks, the CFO or the COO or the CEO? They're afraid you're going to lose people. In a war for talent, it's really important that you retain people, right? So I asked a very simple question. I said, listen, if you knew there was a place out there where your employees are talking about what it's like to work here, if there's a place out there where your customers are talking about you, if there's a place out there where your potential customers and potential employees are talking, if there's a place out there where people are talking about what it's like to interview and work with your company, would you want to know that? Yes. Well, that's social networking. But let's change the name because social networking is scary to some people. Call it stream of intelligence. Tap the stream of intelligence. And this is one of the areas where I think we're going to see a lot of revolution, is organizations like a Hootsuite or a Radian6 that some of you may have heard of, that aggregates and filters the data. You know, we built a product at LinkedIn called Signal. And Signal would pull, anytime someone said LinkedIn, whoop, we got it. Was it a tweet? Was it a Facebook post? Was it something on some kind of other social site? We got it. And you put it together. And then you got people looking at that, developing themes and trends. It's really important to know because every one of your employees is talking somewhere, somehow. And I'll tell you an amazing story that some of you may have heard of around how one company tapped that to make an incredible hire. So social networks I think is on everyone's mind. Even at LinkedIn, we're like, what's next? What's hot? What do we have to look at? We're always thinking about it. Also, trying to find passive candidates, right? LinkedIn was built around the belief that the people who are looking for jobs maybe are not the best employees. The best employees are not looking, they're happy, or they're just doing what they do. So how do you find those people? Because maybe those people don't even have a LinkedIn profile because why do I need a new job? What do I need that for? I love what I'm doing, right? Beyond that, we have how do we train our people to hire the best talent, okay? We're going to come back to that one because I think that's an area of big innovation. Measuring the quality of hire, how do we recruit more globally, reducing the spend. I'm sorry, I know we have some staffing firms here, but you know your customers don't want to pay you as much as they're paying you, right? So you don't have to admit it, but they do. And using mobile recruiting, okay? This is the future right here. In so many ways, especially for candidates. At LinkedIn, one of the simple things that we did when a candidate comes into interviews, we give them an iPad and we give them the schedule, we give them the location of all their interview rooms. And if we change someone on the interview schedule, boom, they very quickly can see the profile of the person that they're going to see. Simple little things like that to be able to customize. But if we talk about recruiting today, I think I've covered some of the really big ones that are top of mind. I believe the social networks is so powerful as a recruiting tool and as a tool for your candidates to understand you, okay? It's all about brand, what your brand is. Every candidate today knows more about you as a company, and every employer knows more about a candidate today because we don't just have a CV. I have a whole bunch of sites, bodies of work that I can find. I can find videos of people. If you're an engineer, I could go to GitHub and find code you've made. There's an organization in San Francisco right now called Guild, And Guild is building a business. They have several $1 million of first round funding because they've developed a way to go onto all the public sites and rank the code quality of coders no matter what their language they're coding in. Think about the value of that. They've got a stack rank for every discipline, whether it's Python, whether it's Java, whatever the code is. They've been able to go and source that and figure it out. That's the kind of technology that's going to disrupt, I think, the game. But if you think about it, one of the good things that we have to be, I think, excited about in the future is that job satisfaction in the years ahead should improve. Why? Because I know more about the company I'm going to, and the company knows more about me. It should improve. I should make a better decision in the future, right? So that's a reason to be optimistic. But there's also a danger to all of this new technology. And if you've used LinkedIn, there's a feature there when you find a candidate that you are interested in. There's a feature called an in-mail. You can send the candidate an in-mail saying, I found your profile. I'm very interested in you. You have very interesting skills. Boom, and you send it. But here's the key that we start to see with some of our customers. They're relying on the technology to interface with the candidate. They're not personalizing the relationship with the candidate. And this is what social networking should be for. It should help you find out more about your candidate so you can get to know them better and communicate them and interact with them better. Not so you can find them. That's just step one. That's the easiest step. Being able to look at that and find out several people at your company went to school with them at the same time. You actually grew up in the same hometown that they grew up in. Or maybe you know a friend of theirs or someone they used to work with. That you use to make a personal reach out. We've all received phone calls in our career. Sometimes someone doesn't know anything about us, and there's all kinds of information out there about us, but they haven't even read that information. We have to leverage that to make it more personal. And even with all these tools that we have, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whole bunch of information, still people are not leveraging those tools as much as they could. There's still an opportunity for you to have a big difference in how you interact with your candidates than prospective other employers, okay? So the key is to unlock that gold. If you're afraid of social media, if you're afraid of these things, hire people who love it. They're usually younger than you, right? My 9-year-old knows how to fix my iPad when it crashes. I don't know how to fix it. It's scary, but it's true. The familiarity with the technology is very, very high. Okay, so over the course of the 4 years I was at LinkedIn, every year we doubled the size of the company. And that doesn't tell the level of complexity. I already told you my competition was across the street, sexier brands, paying people more money. But not only that, we are growing in new countries every month. In 2010, we entered 10 new countries. In 2011, we entered 10 additional countries. And now you've got all kinds of stress if you're in my position running human resources. You got, oh, what about the culture? What about the communication? What about the infrastructure? How am I going to keep the special essence of what's made us great to grow, right? These are the biggest fears that you have when you're growing at that pace. But engaging everybody in that process was the only way that we could make it work. That is the most important thing. You join the team, the first thing that we do is sit down and look at everything every talent we need in the company. Who do you know that you could bring in? At one point, we had about 50% of our hires were referrals. And I remember one day having a big fight with our head of sales. Our head of sales says, we shouldn't hire anybody who's a referral. We should use LinkedIn only. It should be a LinkedIn passive candidate that we never knew. I said, no, that's not true. I said, what LinkedIn is doing is extending your referral network. That's what it's really doing. And so we finally agreed to disagree. But this is the power that we would have. We built products on our platform that would show every job that we have open and everyone in your network that you know that's qualified for that job. Simple. It's a referral tool. And that's something that's incredibly powerful. But we also got very, very active personalizing the experience. If we knew that you were in San Francisco and you're going to drive a long way to interview with us, it's 45 minutes or so, the day of your interview, we would send you a text with a traffic report. That was just a little thing that we would do. If we would send you an offer, we would send you a gift basket with something that was about a story that you told us about yourself. There would be something funny in there, okay? One woman who was interviewing with us had to cancel because she was scuba diving and she got the bends, which is a pressure problem. It makes you very, very sick. So we couldn't meet her for a few months. We thought, oh, she's interviewing at Facebook. She's not really sick, you know? So she met with us, and we said, oh, I'm so sorry. We ultimately wound up hiring her, and we sent her a whole bunch of snorkel and flippers and scuba gear and a license to only scuba at LinkedIn in our pond. But little things like that make it really, really meaningful. And the bigger you get, the harder that becomes, but the more powerful it is when something stands out. Like, wow, they really know me. Because this is the fundamental, simple truth about everybody. We all want to be special. And when you are recognizing someone for how special they are, that's powerful. And the tools are there to help you do it. Okay, I want to tell you about some of the tools that we built at LinkedIn. I want to tell you a great story. This is a story about an engineer at Google named Daniel Tunkelang. And because of a tool that we built called Signal, we found that Daniel had built a blog called The Noisy Channel. He lived in New York City. He just had a new baby. And we found out through our Signal product that we were starting to build, and we had it in beta. He's talking about it. What a cool product. But he's also, well, it could be better if it did this thing and this thing and this thing. So what do? We reach out to Daniel and we say, wow, we love your ideas. Can you come to San Francisco and tell us about your ideas? So we start a discussion with him online, and then he comes out for a business trip to Google. He comes to our offices, and 2 months later, boom, he's now a data scientist with LinkedIn. That we discovered because we're sniffing around and we saw he was talking about us. We started a discussion. He loved it. He couldn't believe that we found him. And now he's one of the most important data scientists in the company. And when you're little LinkedIn and you're just trying to find your way, when you get a star from Google, wow, it was really awesome. But it was also a very interesting situation. When we hired Daniel, I was in the executive meeting. You know, we have every week the executive team gets together, and a couple of the leaders like, we need to talk to the press. We just made this big hire from Google. We want to let the world know we can hire the best talent from the best companies. And I said, wait a second. You know, if we just scored a goal, why do we want to dance around? Why do we want to dance and let Google, our big customer, right, our next door neighbor, their employees could run us over every day because there's millions of them driving home. Why do we want to be so excited? Let's act like we belong in the game. So we didn't do any press release. We said, okay, welcome to the team. And I think that was a very defining moment for our culture, that we didn't overly celebrate or do like in the US and American football, when they score a touchdown, everyone does like the crazy, they got their own dance. Here, what is you run and you score a goal, you get on your knees and go to the corner, right, and kiss the fans. We don't want to do that when you hire a superstar. Just act like you've been there. Hand the ball back to the referee and walk back to your side. But this is a great story about how we used our tools. You got to master social. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Well, at LinkedIn, one of the things we did was we built great experiences. We would have special celebrations. We would have days where some of the simple things that we would do, bring kids in. We would bring speakers in. We had some amazing people come to present to us. Thomas Friedman, who wrote The World is Flat, he came to talk to us. President Obama even came to speak to us because for him, being associated with a job creation company was a big deal. So let me tell you a funny story about the Obama visit. So we're sitting around the executive room and our CEO goes, hey, guess what? The White House just called. Obama can come, but he can only come next week. And I know we're having an executive retreat. Should we let Obama come? And then we said, what are you talking about? It's the freaking president. Of course we're going to have the president come here. So then the president's Secret Service, they come and they check out all the building and they want to say, you have no space big enough for the company to have a meeting of about 400 or 500 people. So we found a space locally. And then they said, every employee who comes has to have a background check. Okay? President needs to be safe. Okay, no problem. So then I knew we had not been checking backgrounds for the first 2 years of the company. We didn't so I had a few hundred people we had no background check on, right? And in the States, you can do this, right? You can do a background check and criminal and education and verify employment and things. It's pretty easy. So I said, oh no, what if we find something? Because the president's coming, we find one of our employees, we have a problem. Sure enough, one employee says, I refuse to sign a background check form. We said, why? He said, I pay my taxes in the US, I should be able to see my president. Why do I have to sign a background check? And we said, the Secret Service says you have to get a background check or you can't see the president. So he's what we call in the States a libertarian. He just believes I have free rights for everything. So we said, oh, fine, you don't get to see the president. Whoa, 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 it's okay. I'll give you the background check for him. But little crazy things like that start happening. Then the next thing happened. The president's going to come. He's going to fly in a plane. They're going to shut down the freeway at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. And we're going to close this exit. Well, that is the exit where all the thousands of Google employees get off. We go, oh no, Google's going to be so mad at us, right? We can't do that. So we actually had to say, can the president come a little bit later, please? You know, we don't want to upset our neighbors. So the president, not because of us, but because the schedule changed, was able to change it. But this was one of the most defining events that legitimized our business. The other one was when we went public in 2011. It made us a legitimate company, and it made it actually easier to recruit, and it made our employees very excited to be somewhere. Wow, the president wants to come here. And we looked at the noise. Like many of you, I'm sure, have people monitoring the traffic noise about your companies, but the noise about our company out there exploded that day. And the day we went public, we were adding a member every day. The day we went public, from then on, 2 members a day. The day after the president came, 2.5 new members a day. So I told the CEO, it's easy. We need to go public every year, and we need the president to come every year, and then it's over, right? But this is an incredible, you know. In the internet business, sometimes the PR function is more important than anything because it's the brand is out there, right? When the CEO and I were talking about, well, how big should our marketing organization be, and how big should our PR organization be? And one discussion we had is, should the head of public relations report to the CEO? Because she was reporting to the head of marketing. And so the way we answered the question was, what are the 2 most important events that happened at this company? I said, easy. We went public and the president came. He goes, right. He goes, who managed that? Marketing or PR? I said, PR. He goes, she's working for me now. And I think that this is a very big testament to the reality of very few companies have the PR expert reporting right into the CEO. But because we're a social site, we felt that was really important. Very, very interesting. But the other thing that we started to realize, and this is true, I think, in every organization today, if you are not telling the story about how great it is to work at your company, somebody's telling it. So you better tell your story the way you want to tell it. What we did at LinkedIn was, I told you, we had great speakers, we had great visitors, we gave experiences for people to talk about. Okay? You know, prior to LinkedIn, people were talking about, well, the office closed, or we shut down this, or these people got laid off, or we didn't make our numbers, so we got no bonuses here. You know, you can't always control that. But what you can try to do is offset. There's a reality of difficult news all the time. But the way we got around difficult news was we would tell it as soon as it happened. We didn't want the employees to ever find bad news about the company somewhere else first. We want them to trust us. We want them to know we care. And so we would share the bad news, not just the good news. But this is a key point. If you're not telling your story on the social networks of the world, somebody else is telling it, and it may not be what you want told. Okay? Really, really key. All right, now I'm going to tell you another fun story. Okay? Who knows what this is? What's this? Purple Squirrel. Do you have these in Spain? Yeah, you have them? Yeah, okay. So those of you that have never heard about the purple squirrel, it is the impossible candidate, right? Your hiring manager says, I need blah, 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 and you go to yourself, that's a purple squirrel. The candidate does not exist, okay? This is the beauty of where we are today with recruiting. So at LinkedIn, and you all have had these kind of hiring managers before, the head of operations, every sentence is a swear word, a curse word. Blah, 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 blah. He's loud, he's crazy. He never sleeps because his job is to keep the site up all the time. He came to us and says, I need a data operations manager. And they need to be within 50 miles of the company. They need to be in the internet. They need to have manager experience. They need to have worked in a company somewhere between 500 and 1,000. 6 or 10 years experience, maybe 10 years more experience is really good. 3 to 5 years or 6 to 10 years in their job. Yes, I'd like them to have a public company. They need to speak English. And they need to have recommendations, a lot of recommendations. So I'm in there with my head of recruiting, and we look at each other, and we both send the signal, purple squirrel. It's a purple squirrel. So we met with them the next day and we said, we got great news for you. We went on LinkedIn and we found there's 7 people in the world that have these skills and we can fill that job in about 3 years. Okay? In about 3 years, that's what it's going to take. I said, so let's get real about your expectations. Okay? And this was in I'd say 15 minutes to be fair. We went back, we put in all the criteria, boom, it came out. We went, knock, knock, we need to talk to you. What? Yeah, we need to talk to you right now. What? Why? I need, more time. Because usually when you're a recruiter, you used to go to the hiring manager and they go pop, pop, pop. And you go, okay, I'll see what I can do. And you go back to your desk and you can't find the candidate. Well, now we were all excited. He's like, wow, you got some good news. You found them? I said, yeah, we found 7. It'll take about 3 years to hire them though, because they're not here. Okay, they don't exist. So let's get real. So let's remove the fact that they have to have recommendation. Because guess what? Where does the data center manager live? In the data center. A good data center manager doesn't have a lot of friends. They're in the data center, right? So maybe they don't have a recommendation. Let's take time and position. This is my favorite one, right? They have to have 10 years experience. Ask the hiring manager, did you have 10 years of experience when you got there? No, I did it in 5. Well, are you special? Yeah, I'm special. Well, maybe there's someone good like you out there. Just maybe, right? You think you're special, but everyone else that could be special out there too. So now we're up to 71. Then we took the company type. Maybe there's some private company, right? Data's data. Yes, private company has some regulatory requirements. We can teach that. So now we're down to 82. Then lastly, we removed the size of the company. Maybe they used to work for 1,000 person, now they're working for 100 because they just moved to a smaller town. Now we got a chance to fill that job, okay? This is the power that we have at our disposal today. That's data giving us intelligence to make great decisions, okay? And that's the power that LinkedIn gives you in 5 minutes. I'll tell you a funny story. In the US, there is a very well-known school for human resource professionals. I didn't go to it, but I got to teach at it because I was successful. Cornell University, okay, upstate New York. Anyone ever been to Cornell? No? Okay. You know it's cold, right? Super cold up there. So it's wintertime, I get invited to Cornell and said, oh, Steve, you have to come to this class we're teaching on recruiting and talk about LinkedIn. I said, okay. So I go in this big lecture hall, all these students, business, it's sort of business school with the HR focus. They all kind of looking at you cross-eyed like, what do you really know? We're students, we're hip, we're cool. And so I said, does anyone ever use the LinkedIn tool before? No. I said, oh, let me show you. So I pull up the tool and we open up a LinkedIn search. I said, let's search for somebody today, just for fun. I said, pick a country. And someone says, Turkey. I said, okay, pick a profession. They say retail. I said, don't have retail, got to be more specific. Go fashion, goods, and jewelry. Okay. I said, then pick an education level. They said PhD. And now I'm thinking, uh-oh. PhD, Turkey, fashion and luxury goods and jewelry. I hit enter and I go, shit, this better work, man. 3 people show up. And I say, my work is done here. Have a nice day. And I just walk, right? 3 people. This is the power that you have in just a second like that, right? I've done this time after time. I've had executives from all over the world walk in and say, well, I said, have you ever used it? No. Okay, well, tell me the hardest job you have to fill. And then they're writing down. I said, no, don't write that down. Give me your credit card. We'll sell you the license. It's a very, very powerful tool. Okay, we got so good at recruiting at LinkedIn that Morgan Stanley upgraded our stock because it says LinkedIn is onboarding people better than any company I've ever seen. This is, I went into my CEO after this story came out, and every month you have to give a monthly report. I print this article, go right there. That's my monthly report. Our stock just got upgraded. And it wasn't because of me. It wasn't because of my recruiting team. It was because everybody owned this. But we were recruiting so well that our revenue per employee was actually increasing, which shocked me. Because you think if your managers are spending 2 days a week just recruiting, when are they building the business, right? How are they doing that? But guess what happened when they were spending all that time recruiting? They were preaching about why they loved working there. They were reminded how much they loved it. They were passionate. They were living in their passion more. That's powerful, okay? We used to have a trick in human resources. Maybe you guys know it. When you have a manager who's not feeling so good about the company, get them recruiting. Because then they have to tell why they're there, why they like being there. They have to remember what it is. We went through something really powerful. Our revenue per employee doubled in 2 years. And we tripled, well, in the time I was there, the company grew 700%. That's powerful. And when you get the Wall Street excited about it and they're upgrading your stock, wow, really, really powerful. Okay, so let me switch a little bit, talk about the future of recruiting, and then we'll take some Q&A and have some fun, yeah? Okay. So where do I think recruiting is going? As I said in the beginning, I think there's no more exciting time than what's in front of us right now. You know, one of the things in the HR profession we hear for so many years, like, we have to get a seat at the table. You know, business, we have to be at the executive table with the CEOs and CXOs. HR is never invited, never seen as a peer. And I think the future is, guess what? It's our table. Because people are realizing talent is the defining difference between success or failure, and we have the tools to really show our value. The purple squirrel example, we're going to have more and more of those, where we are going to be so core to be able to solve the problem. But I think the future is data-driven predictive recruiting. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. How many of you heard the story about the Salesforce hire in Hawaii? Have any of you ever heard this story? You have, Joe. Okay. So Salesforce a few years ago bought a company called Radian6. It's a web monitor. It checks out all kinds of who's talking about what. And they found something on there that said, my sales organization is having its President's Club trip. Oh no, my husband has his President's Club trip at Hawaii in the Hilton, okay? On this specific island. So you think, what's the big deal? Well, who on a sales team goes to President's Club? The best. Any sales organization that has a President's Club in Hawaii is treating their best salespeople, okay? So guess what? Guess who got a ticket to Hawaii? A Salesforce recruiter. Guess where they went? To the bar. Because that's where salespeople go, right? To the bar, right? They met a couple of salespeople and they made a hire from that Radian6 note from the wife of a salesperson going to Hawaii. That's data intelligence driving it, okay? That's not exactly predictive recruiting, but that is a story. It's a true story, because I know the Salesforce recruiting guys. They told me that. I go, that's not true. I go, that's creepy. That makes me want to be very careful what I say all the time. Well, yeah, it's all out there, right? Pepsi's doing some really interesting things. Anyone here from Pepsi? No? Anyone here from Coca-Cola? I'm going to make them upset? No? Okay, good. So Pepsi is one of the leaders in the companies that we've worked with that are large and are thinking differently about recruiting, okay? I really was surprised when I talked to some of the Pepsi guys. There's a guy there named Chris Hoyt, and he's got a blog called The Recruiter Guy. And I said, you call yourself The Recruiter Guy? That's very confident. But here's what they do. They publish on their jobs page how many people are in the funnel. So you know when you apply, 10,000 people applied, 700 people got a first round interview or phone screen, 20 people got an interview, and 1 person got hired. So if you get an interview, how does that make you feel? Because now you have the analytics that they're making you aware of to show, wow, I'm one of 30,000, I made it through. Very, very powerful. But those are some of the tools that they're finding is creating a connection. They have chat boxes with candidates all the time. So the candidates know what's going on to make it real. Okay, so let me close with an interesting data-driven story where I think things are going. So does anyone know what this is? It's a stock market. This one is the Australian stock market. I was down there last year. It's looking like a bad day on the Australian stock market right there, judging by the red. But what the stock market indices do, and what a lot of the financial firms do, is they give you lots of intelligence about a company on where to invest, right? You can find out how many employees, what's the revenue, how fast they're growing or shrinking, or where the new markets are growing and how strong the management team is in terms of how long they've been there. You can find some fundamentals to help you invest, okay? Anybody know who this is? Okay, yeah. Looks like he just scored a goal, right? He's pretty happy. Is he any good? I don't know. He plays down the street. Is he any good? How do you know he's good? Score goals? What else? He's very expensive. Yeah, that's true. I know I got HR people in here now. We know he's good because we know his statistics, right? How much he plays, how much he passes, how much he doesn't pass, how much he gets injured, right? How many assists he has. The future, I believe, of recruiting is that we will have an index like this, not only of the talent in our company, but other companies that we're recruiting from. At LinkedIn, we were starting to build a list of all the companies where our most successful people came from. Well, why are they successful? Did they have education in common? Was there a cultural experience at that company that prepared them well for my company? Did they get training at that company? What is the data that we're looking at our best employees? What is consistent about them? What is similar? So that we're getting themes together to be able to say, okay, before I start a search, I don't have to go look at 20 companies. These are the 3 companies that people fit. They get our language. They know us really well. So getting predictive recruiting around what organizations, but also what people are going to make a difference in your firm. Some of these analytics are going to be out there. Now this obviously can't capture everything. Like, how do you measure charisma? How do you measure people like working with you? How do you measure really good leadership? There's no consistent methodology or 360 or in place net, right? So it's incomplete. This is why I love what we do. It's not all science, it's partially art. But we have so much science to take advantage of to help us make a better decision. It's never always the right decision, but it's a lot better than, oh, I like this person. This is the one thing in HR I hate. My gut tells me we should hire this person. I don't care about your gut. Tell me, your gut is something, when someone says, my gut says I should hire this person, it's a very common expression in the States. My gut says we should hire this person. I say, all you're telling me is you don't know why you like them, but you like them. So let's write down why you like them, okay? Very, very, very powerful. So there's reason to be excited, I believe. And I think the challenge for all of us is, what are we doing to take advantage of those tools? What are we doing to take advantage of the technologies to be able to sort of figure this out? In the US, there was a movie that came out last year. It's about an American sport, so I don't imagine many of you saw it unless you're a baseball fan, but there's a movie called Moneyball. Did anyone see this movie? Heard of this movie, Moneyball? Okay. So those of you that didn't see the movie, it's a beautiful story that's showing how this is going, because it's sport, but sport is going to go into the corporation, I believe, and we're all going to be general managers. Here's the story. In the baseball market in the US, the richest cities have the richest payrolls, can afford the best players. New York, Chicago, Boston. They're able to afford these incredible payrolls. In Oakland, California, which is a city like, how many people have gone on vacation in Oakland? Yeah, nobody, right? Okay, that's their problem, okay? They can't afford the $50 billion payroll of the Yankees. They can only afford maybe 1/10 of that, maybe less. But there were some data guys on the Oakland A's team that saw something. They were looking at all the statistics. Every team that won, it wasn't because who had the strongest, the fastest, the most experienced team. It was the team that just put someone on what we call first base. If you just get someone to first base, you're going to win more than the other team. Doesn't matter how. They could get hit by the ball. They could hit. The catcher could miss the ball. They run it first. Doesn't matter. And so they drafted a team of players that just got to first base. And the first year they did that, they went to the championship game. They lost. But the incredible story was they changed the game of how they look at what it means to be talented in this sport. And I think that's on all of us, is to find that formula in our companies, on our teams. That's going to be the winning formula that someone hasn't thought about. Moneyball inside the company. We are talking about this so much at LinkedIn. I had a whole team of data scientists. They're working this, trying to figure it out. One of the early stages that we're working on right now is something called an influencer. So on LinkedIn, we know how many connections you have. What's the level of your connections? Do you have many VP level connections? Do you have many manager level connections? Do you have many sort of entrepreneur connections? Who are the connections and who are you saying no to connecting? How discriminating are you? You just accept everything? And how many people read what you say, or how many people look at your profile, and how senior are the people that look at your profile, to start developing a method of who are the influencers out there in the world. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite authors out there. He wrote a book called Blank and Tipping Point. And another one, Stephen Levitt, wrote Freakonomics, right? Two similar kind of concepts where Stephen Levitt in Freakonomics, he studied, why is a Canadian hockey team always winning these championships so much, right? How's Spain doing in hockey? Yeah, ice hockey, yeah. So he said, wow, Canadians love hockey. And the traditional thinking was, yeah, of course they love hockey. It's cold. There's always ice all the time. So people skating all the time. That's why they're good. No, not true. He found out that the age with which the kids on the junior hockey team started to play was a little bit older. Just a little bit, by a few months. And that was the key. And why some of the junior teams in Canada were crushing the other junior teams, because they got the kids about 6 months older. And they would train. It was an interesting finding. These are the kinds of things, they're nuggets in our organization. Here's the other sad reality. How good do you think your human resource systems are in your company? Are they the best systems in your company? Are they close to being the best systems? No, they're crap. The HR systems suck, okay? And you know why? Because the person who bought the systems is CFO for the CFO systems. For all keeping track of parts, keeping track of product, not for the people. And then they just slap on another one. Anyone here from Oracle? Okay, so I'm going to headbutt Oracle. It's garbage. They crushed the best one, PeopleSoft, that was out there. Those of you from Oracle at home, I love you guys. It's great. But here's the thing. There's new systems now that are being founded. Workday. Oh, it's going to help so much. Workday started with people as a people management process. So we got a lot of work to do. We got to figure out what information we want, and we got to have a system to track that. But I go back to my first point. Why do we have to fight for that when talent's the most important thing? Why is that? But here's the key. You don't have to be investing more than anyone. You just have to be better than the next person, than your competitor. You heard the story about the bear and the two people running in the woods? You know the story? I don't have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than you. This is it with your competitor. You just have to be a little bit better than the next one. And this is our opportunity, okay? One of the last things I did at LinkedIn was get the Workday implementation started. And I was like, finally. And I'm sad I'm going to miss drinking the wine of that being really effective. But things like staff planning, things like all kinds of visibility that you're going to be able to have, web-based tools that are so intuitive, it's so great. At LinkedIn, here we are, okay? The middle of Silicon Valley. When we were 9 years old as a company, someone wanted to take a vacation. You know what they had to do? Fill out a piece of paper, walk across the campus, put it in the box of the payroll person, then walk back. That's ridiculous. A Workday, if you were talking to your spouse at dinner and say, hey, let's go to, let's go to Marbella. There's a tennis tournament next week. Okay, let me put it in on my phone. Boom, done. Why isn't it like that? It should be, right? But we are the one area that has been most underinvested in. And we need to change that. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do now, is try to elevate the platform of our function as much as I can. That's why I was like, when Nacho said, do you want to come meet some HR? Well, yeah, turn me loose. Because I really want to be a force of change to help us have better resources and better tools. So lastly, in closing, guys, I know you're in a difficult economy. The future is bright for what you're doing. Even if you only hire one person, that one person can make the difference, okay? Culture is the key to your brand, especially if you have a company that's sexy like Google that's next to you. You can beat them. I beat them. Shh, don't tell them. I don't like to brag. You can beat them. You have to have experience and you have to have something that taps into the heart of the people. For us, it was, do you want to change the lives of people? Help them find their dream job. That's what we want to do at LinkedIn. Help our members find their dream job. Does that get you excited? Do you get excited about making the future brighter for your children? Yes, then you need to come join. Because it's a crusade. It's not a job. People today, here's the key. People today want an adventure. They don't want a job. So if you believe that, okay? If you believe that, then you need to ask yourself, am I branding and marketing an adventure, or am I just posting a job? I was talking to a few people the other day about my belief is the job boards of the future is going to be going to like a movie website where you have a preview that's sexy and cool, and now I feel it. I feel what it's like to work for you. Right now, a job description, you need 6 years of experience, you need to have a college degree, you need to be very prompt, you need to have good writing skills, you need to have 6 years marketing. I'm so... How about action? How about you strap a helmet cam on an employee and have them run around the campus and have them live a day? Here, how about this? How about you do drive-bys? Have people drive along. Just, if you're interested in the company, just sit with somebody for a half a day just to try it out. You got to taste it. Give them the food. Give them something that they want. That's going to make a big difference, and you have the assets to do that. Social networks, your intelligence, and lastly, believe it's your table. You don't have to fight to get to the executive table. It's your table, and it's going to be coming. Thank you very much. That's all I have for you guys. So now, to keep it casual, if you have to go somewhere, don't feel embarrassed. You have to go. Thank you again for taking time away from your families and from your work to come here. I used to hate to go to anything outside of work when I was at LinkedIn. What a waste of time. I hope it better be useful. I hope this was useful for you. I have fun talking about what I love, but if you have questions, we have to do the mic because it's getting recorded, or even a comment. Anybody? Yes. Thanks, Maria.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. Awesome.
Great.
I would like to know, how did you recruit your recruiting team? What kind of training or what kind of development have you done to your HR team?
Okay, great question. So this was a story. One of the biggest learnings for me at LinkedIn was from the day I joined to the day I left, I never felt I had enough resources, okay? I was always behind, always fighting for more. And as a company, we never could predict how successful we were. In the beginning, if you could walk and talk and you had a good network, I would hire you to be a recruiter. Where we got to was we had a 2-week academy for recruiting. Now here's the thing, very interesting learnings that we had. We said, okay, when I started, I had one person doing recruiting. When I left, I had 130, okay? So that's more people than I ever managed before. So I need to know I got some good people leading below me, right? So what we did was we created a recruiting academy. You have to learn how to sell the company. And we would put them through 2-week training. And if you fail, you don't get fired, but we give you more training to get better. I thought that my best recruiters were going to just crush it. I thought they would. And some people, we found they didn't even know half of our product lines. They couldn't explain it. They couldn't explain the transformation value proposition very well. So what we started to do was bring leaders from the company to educate them on everything that was happening in the business. And that was probably about 2 years in, we started this academy. That you have to be certified because it's real. This is really important. But the other thing that I'll tell you is candidates love to be approached by the manager, not by the recruiter many times, okay? So sometimes you got to worry about your manager, some things they're going to say. So we started to measure, okay? And talking about using data, we started to measure of all the managers interviewing. We would survey candidates. Did you have a good experience? Was it a good interview? But we would start to measure, did this person say hire or not hire? And then we would look at 50 hires that we made and 50 declines and find out, wow, every person that we hire, this person says no, get them out. They can't recruit anymore. They don't know, right? And then we would see of the people we hired, how long are they staying to start develop some intelligence, right? So recruiters, we did fundamental, what we call boot camp. We made sure that they had all the skills. We ran them through very rigorous interview training and closing, but it's all about the close. And closing in the Valley, very complicated. Because if they give you a spreadsheet with, I've got stock options, I've got restricted stock units, I've got all kinds of crazy bonuses, and every company's got a different model, you need to translate all that. And sometimes HR people, recruiters I've worked with in the past, not that comfortable with complex recruiting compensation analysis. So we got them comfortable with that. And if they weren't, we would get them with people that were. But more important, the reason I think we were victorious was because we got the right hiring managers to get really excited. We would not have, if we found a really good person, we would have the hiring manager reach out to them first, not the recruiter. And then the hiring manager would say, the recruiter is going to help organize getting you in, but the hiring manager would get in front of it. Big difference for us against our competitors. Joe, you have a question?
Yeah, hi Steve. 3 questions.
Okay, one per customer, sorry. Yeah.
The future of video recruiting, video interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe there is a future for video interviewing?
There is a conference in the US every year called HR Tech. You familiar with this?
No.
HR Tech happened last year. The #1 HR Tech, like the most innovative, is a company in Utah called HireVue.
Yeah,
What do they do?
We use them.
Boom. Yeah, so I've been talking to them actually about this. I think it's very, very powerful. Those of you that don't know HireVue, check it out. What it does is you get with the hiring manager, you get the key 4 or 5 like top questions, and it sends a link to the candidate to video themselves answering the questions. So as a recruiter, you don't have to say, well, they're really sharp, they're really articulate, I think you see how they express themselves. And I think it's going to cut down a lot. So I see that happening. I think video resume, video CV, video profile, definitely happening soon.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
I'll give you another one.
The other thing, I'm not sure about the latest at LinkedIn, but I'm always surprised that if you have candidates that come up in the search, you can put them in a folder and then you can put some notes to the profiles. But what I'm missing is the whole process, yeah, from first contact to hired. Yeah, and the transparency that candidates exactly know where they are in the process and which are the next steps to be done, yeah, in the process. Is that coming? I mean, the transparency, what is ahead?
There is a product that LinkedIn put together and released it about a year and a half ago called Talent Pipeline. It's what we call, you're talking about an applicant tracking system, or what we refer to as ATS. Remember what I said about HR systems?
The crap?
Yeah, it's a garbage heap. It's a garbage heap. There are some good ones out there. There was a good one that was getting some traction called Taleo. Some of you may use Taleo, but a big monster just bought them. So I don't know what's going to happen to them. And then there's a company down in Argentina called Avature, which has got a pretty good solution. And increasingly impressed by some of the technology that we're seeing being built in Argentina. But that's a pain point for every customer of LinkedIn, and everyone I know in the recruiting space is a good applicant tracking system. I haven't seen one yet. So market opportunity. I think we've told Workday to try to build one. LinkedIn built something very, very light, but I agree with you, it needs to happen.
We will finalize ours in June, so I could maybe show you.
You're using the question for marketing for your company. Nice.
No, not at all, not at all. To your last remark about we are now including, this is not marketing, we are going to ask our clients, so we're a recruiting company, we're going to ask our clients, we're going to give them the opportunity for the manager, not the hiring manager, to record a memo per job, which then the applicants can listen to, so they can actually listen to their future boss. So we don't actually, we also think a job upload is a dirty word, and we believe more in job building. Yeah, it's a bit more effort at the beginning, but much more result at the end. Yeah,
beautiful.
So, but do you think that, my question would be, do you think the manager would participate? Would they think, oh my God, I have to record a voice memo?
50-50, right? I mean, introvert, extrovert, right? You have to prove that it works. They're just, especially my engineers, that the data center guy, he doesn't want to talk to people. I want to deal with the data, right? That's okay, But I think that I was on a panel at Stanford University a few months ago. A professor said something that, like, the same experience when I applied to LinkedIn and oh my God, everyone knows my boss found out I just interviewed over there. Same thing happened. She said something that shocked me. She said, students today join a boss, not a company. And they know, right? Here's the other thing that I've been giving a lot of thought to lately. Collins and Porras wrote a book that's gotten a lot of press and a lot of attention called Built to Last, right? It's a very well-known and well-read book. And it's a very good concept around don't just build for today, build for tomorrow. I wonder though, especially in Silicon Valley, we couldn't forecast our business more than 18 months before it becomes Looney Tunes. We don't know what's going to happen. So, and the reality is a very interesting comment that our founder said one day. He was asked, who is your biggest competitor? Who makes you worried? Who do you lose sleep about? He goes, I lose sleep about the company that hasn't been built yet that's going to change the game, the paradigm for my business, right? And when life could be that fleeting, okay, it doesn't make you want to build for 100 years. It wants to make you build for today, right? And you've got a whole VC community that gave money to all these companies, and guess what? Where's my money? You better go public. You better make some money now because I want my money back, right? This is the reality. I've been in these rooms with these VC guys, right? They're like, they may look nice on the outside. It's like you don't necessarily want them on your board, but you want them managing your money because they are tough, right? And I think that this is the reality of the challenge for leaders in the Valley is how do you build something that's going to last? But the reality is your opportunity may be a few years. So when we had Obama visit, okay, we were in a building that is now called, it's in the heart of Silicon Valley, right in Mountain View. It's called the Computer History Museum of Silicon Valley. What some people don't know is that in 1994, no, a little later than that, 96, okay? Al Gore, you guys remember Al Gore, right? Vice President under Clinton. He went to this company and said, I invented the internet, okay? Who can remember the name of this company? It was the hottest company in Silicon Valley, and today it is gone. It's called SGI, Silicon Graphics. It was the hottest. Now it's a dinosaur shell. Doesn't even exist. Our buildings were all SGI buildings. It's a great reminder how fleeting life is. But the implications for you need to grab the opportunity now and build something now is pretty intense. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
One question is, there are some people here from headhunting companies. Is LinkedIn the business that is destroying or changing the paradigm of their business?
I think there's a portion of the business that LinkedIn has completely taken away, and that is the search business, to find somebody. But I don't believe that they have taken away from the search from something as critical, if not more, which is this the right person? Are they the right culture? Are they the right fit? And really making sure that there's going to be that tight connection for long-term, lasting relationship. I mean, recruiting in a way is like blind dating. Even the best interviews, Jack Welch in the US, oh, he's a god. Everyone says he's the best leader ever. He says 60% was a good year for him, right? If you have people who are experts at trying to find the soft skill match, I think that's really going to make a difference. So I see they've disrupted part of the search business. The other thing is that a lot of CXOs, they don't have a LinkedIn profile. That is definitely executive search. I think is still at the highest levels, I think is still very vibrant. And when you think about it, there's arguably, we could argue about this over surveys, but probably about 3 billion workers in the world, okay? White collar professionals, about 600 million. On LinkedIn today, they say 225 million, but I know it's not true because my father has 3 profiles because he forgot his password 2 times and keeps building new profiles. So, and I got friends who like, hey, help me, I got a 225, maybe 200 million, maybe. I don't know what the fudge fact. Before we went public, we had to go scrub it. We found all these duplicates, and then somebody said, oh, I get a free in-mail if I sign up a new account. New account, new account, new account, new account. So they built like 10, 20 profiles, and it's a constant. I mean, internet security is a constant. Wow, we've got a whole team of people doing that. But I think that there's a huge amount of people still not on LinkedIn. You know, maybe still 75% of the white collar professionals. So that's why the flip side is there's still huge upside for LinkedIn. And if they get relevant for the service workers, many of whom use a phone, okay? They don't have a computer, but use a phone, okay? So I'll give you a funny story. I think I told you this story already, but I was invited to go to Walmart, okay? You familiar with Walmart? In the US, they have 2.5 million employees. Definitely, other than the government, definitely the biggest employer, okay? And I was invited to go in Bentonville, Arkansas. You know, some people try to live a life and never go to Arkansas. Sorry, Bill Clinton. But I show up in their headquarters, and I walk in the building, and I think I've gone back in time. Oh my God. It's like 1940, and the shades are drawn, and it's kind of dark, and you've got the fluorescent lights. And I walk into the executive room, and they say, Steve, and I was there with a few other of my colleagues, and they said, Steve, we don't even know the question to ask you. Like, what is social media? Like, we don't know. And I said, wow, I'm impressed that you're so honest to admit that question. I said, well, of the 2.5 million, how many people are professional? They said, only 300,000. So you have 2.2 million workers only maybe with the cell phone. And the company's not giving them the cell phone, right? So mobile, I think, is going to be an equalizer for that space. But I think executive search has a real chance to innovate, you know? And there's some things around assessing talent and how to do that. You're seeing a lot of exec talent people from the Egon Zehnder and the Korn Ferry and so forth leave to go in-house because some companies feel, oh, we can do the executive recruiting in-house. And, you know, get an exec recruiter, get a LinkedIn license, okay, it's all good. But they're not building the process around that. So it's tough. I think there's still enormous market opportunity for some search firms. But you're seeing, if you look at the financial reports of these companies, Spencer Stuart and Korn Ferry in particular, it's going down right now. It's tough. It's a tough market. And it's not just because of LinkedIn. I think it's tough business. Yeah. One more question. Buy two, get one free. All right.
You were speaking just about the process of narrowing down the search of candidates in certain companies because those companies are well known to produce good talent.
Yeah.
Now that would mean that also then the likelihood to find passive candidates will probably increase. Yeah, because there are good companies to work for. Mm-hmm. Is there a strategy, a vision, a mission at LinkedIn to work or to tackle that problem, the passive candidates? I know there's a lot of talk about it. I'm thinking about it a lot myself.
Yeah, so when I left LinkedIn, I had to sign certain things. They're looking at it. How advanced they are, I can't speak to it. But of course, that's something that's gold, right? A lot of people are looking at that. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
How long did it take you to fulfill your profile on LinkedIn? Do you use LinkedIn today?
Wait, how long did it take me to do
Two questions. How long did it take you to fulfill your profile on LinkedIn? And another question is, do you use LinkedIn, do you use LinkedIn often today?
I use LinkedIn maybe 2 hours a day, every day. Yeah. And I'm not recruiting. When I was coming here, I was looking up Nacho's profile, I was looking up Rodrigo's profile, I was looking up ISDI, I was looking at where their graduates are working. I was trying to find out some of the people that I was going to meet here today to try to understand is research preparation, try to understand the markets. You may not understand, and I know you don't, because even at LinkedIn, we didn't know all the power of LinkedIn. Do you know I could tell how many employees are in a company? I can tell where the employees work, what countries they work in that company. You know, give or take, because not everyone has a profile, right? And some contract workers or temporary workers have profiles but so you have intelligence around turnover, promotion velocity, you have an incredible amount of data, and there's a new thing out recently called Talent Brand Index, TBI. And some people say TMI, too much information. TBI, what that does is it gives a company an understanding of, and this is a paid product, right? It's not a free product, but the paid product is Who are the people that are looking at your company's profiles? What companies are they working at? What parts of the world are they working at? What functions are they looking at most? Are they looking at the salespeople? Are they looking at the marketing people? Are they looking at your marketing people in Brazil? And then you know who your employees are connected to. They're connected to a lot of people at Intel or Microsoft or P&G. You can see where your strength of connection is, but you can also see who's looking at you, how often they're looking at you. And this is another reality that some people feel like, even just LinkedIn. We could show you how many profiles a day are being looked at, and that some companies are just missing an opportunity to say something there.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, but the problem is that sometimes that you get drowned with all that information. I mean, sometimes you start to look for so much information again and again and again, and then you may lose, or you may lose your point of view.
Right. So this is the challenge I think our generation has to solve, is too much information, honestly. This is, when Google Plus came out, I go, oh no, another competitor, right? So I got like Facebook, everyone's like, what if they decide to be Workbook? We're screwed. And then Google says Google Plus, Google Circles, then Salesforce got Chatter. I like, oh no, and I said, someone said, will you use Google? No, I have enough already. I just want to call my mom this weekend. I don't want to spend time working on, but LinkedIn to me, for me, okay, obviously, I helped build the company, so I get it, right? If you cut me, there's blue coming out. But it's relevant for me. As an individual, I run my own business, it's just me. That is gold for me to be able to find, and there's so much information there. It's getting better and better, and the contacts feature. Anyway, back to my profile. I change my profile a little bit once a week. Like I publish a story, I put the link in there, or I was quoted in a book a few weeks ago, I put the link in there, so I'm changing it a little bit. I looked at something I wrote about a company I worked at a few years ago. I don't like, that looks stupid. I'm going to change that, so I changed that. Or I put a sexier description in, I don't know, it's my brand, right? This is the thing about LinkedIn that people say, why should I have a LinkedIn profile? So I can't tell you how many hours I spent on it, but it's just something I like to do. But I can't tell you how valuable it is to be able to do that, because if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or you have a boring one, when someone pulls you up on Google, we're usually the #1 search result. If you have nothing, if you have no LinkedIn profile, then I've got to, I don't know, is this you? Could be someone else with your name, I don't know. And I put together some mosaic that may not be what you want to be representing, right? So here's another funny story. So back to GE, right? In America, GE is like, oh my God, it's the best company. They develop the best talent. And I speak sometimes these HR conferences that go around. So one time, last year, I was invited to this conference in Chicago, and the former head of HR for GE, okay, he was Jack Welch, HR leader. 8 years ago, he retired, okay? He's the head speaker at this conference. So I sit down, I go to the exercise room in the morning and get some exercise. I sit down on the bike and I go, oh my God, it's the former head of HR. Geez, right next to me. And so I go, boo, hey, I'm Steve. And he's like, oh no, somebody's going to talk to me. I just want to work out. He's all sweaty and everything. So I said, don't take offense to this, but, why are you still talking about leadership? It's 8 years ago. Why don't we have a new company talking about something new? And he says, LinkedIn. He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't think I really need a profile because I'm retired. I said, well, let me ask you, what are you most proud of? He said, oh, all the people that I helped their careers that work for me. I said, how do you keep in touch with them? And I said, you don't need it to find a new job. Keep in touch with your network, right? Send them a congratulations note, right? It's super powerful. But okay, I could go on. I know we're getting late. So thank you so much. Nacho, any last words? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So, eso ha sido todo por hoy. Yo creo que si tenéis más dudas a través de Twitter o a través de, si queréis seguir en contacto con Steve, a través de LinkedIn. Y si queréis cualquier cosa, pues
said you had an issue. Just give me your hand, like cold when I snap my fingers. Dark shadows don't like my fingers. Please believe me.